So thank you all for signing in and for finding your way here. Apologies again for the technical challenges that we're having, and we ended up having to reroute to another Zoom call. So thank you for being flexible. We really appreciate it, and hopefully we'll get all of your questions answered about the Master Recycler program. It's brand new, and we're really excited to share it with you. It's been something that's been in the works for quite a few months now, and we're thrilled to be able to kind of put it out into the wild and see how people respond to it, and give you a little bit of an insight into the work that we do every day, and our experience in the waste management and recycling industry, and looking at all of that as a whole. So I'll dive in a little bit into the program, kind of why we felt like we wanted to start this now, who's a good candidate for the Master Recycler program, some questions that maybe you all have, and maybe try to get ahead of some of those questions for you, some that we've anticipated from emails that we've gotten in the past. And we'll go from there. And then at the end, we'll turn it over for your questions. We're recording now, so you'll all get a copy of the recording. You'll get the link. We'll probably put it on YouTube and then share that YouTube link out to all of you within the next few days. Probably by the end of the week, you'll get that link. And we'll also direct you to the frequently asked questions as well. We'll type all of those up, get those ready to go for you. So you can share those with friends, maybe if you're here and you know of others that would like to participate, but want to get questions answered as well. You can feel free to share that information with folks in your network. So thank you again so much, and we'll just get started. All right, so a little bit of background about the Master Recycler program, kind of where it came from, and why we decided we wanted to release it now. Because of COVID, I think education has been very difficult, and trying to reach people where they are. Most people are at home, and so doing that typical tabling or being at an event where we make lots of good connections with people and get to talk trash, as it were, is just not happening as much as we'd like. And so we've tried to pivot to accommodate more online learning, reaching people at home, and all of that good stuff. And so one of the things that we would really, we're really hoping that we got an opportunity to do is to provide more of a deep dive into recycling, waste management, kind of policies that help us drive the industry forward, things on a day-to-day that affect EcoMaine's operations. This is stuff that you don't always get in a virtual tour program. And we do notice that we've got lots of really committed individuals in the state of Maine who are very passionate about recycling. They're very committed to putting materials to their better and higher use, and engage with us in a lot of really deep conversations about, recycling as a whole, but also, getting manufacturers involved, and, trying to start committees in their community, trying to educate others. And we really felt like we wanted to offer something to that audience, to those, dedicated champions in their communities. And so that's where the Master Recycler idea kind of came from. We really want to provide expert level training for recyclers who are at home, get experts at workplaces, get people in the schools who can teach others, and just really give you, mastery in what goes in the recycling bin and what doesn't, and why, and really explaining the why things are recyclable and why they're not. We also want to allow folks to think big picture about recycling. We want, Maine is just a very small part of the recycling chain, and it's really hard to condense that down in a 45-minute virtual tour that we might offer on a normal basis. So this Master Recycler gives us a little bit more time to talk with you about, the industry itself and all of the partnerships that we have to fortify and build and maintain over time. And then we also really want to create more environmental stewards in our state. So people who are proficient in what's going on and they really understand the recycling stream and what's recyclable and what's not. And then think about how policies at the state and federal levels can really impact, what's going on here in the state of Maine and what's going on at ecomaine. So we want, those really good recycling champions. And these are people that may become members of recycling and solid waste committees in their towns, or maybe they're just really good community partners, or people who help, educate their neighbors. So it's really, the nice thing is that this program could provide a deep dive for people who are interested in recycling and really get them involved in their neighborhoods and in their communities, to make the state of Maine a more environmentally responsible and sustainable waste management type of place. So if you're wondering if you're the right person who should register, the fact that you are here tells us that you are. But we're looking for people who really enjoy learning new things and want to kind of get a little bit more information about recycling in particular. We want people who are hoping to help their neighbors recycle and be that educational champion for us to help us remind neighbors when, oh, maybe plastic bags don't go in the recycling bin and here's why, and provide resources to them. Because sometimes we're not the best advocates for recycling and what goes in the bin and what doesn't. Sometimes the best person to communicate that message is somebody in your family or somebody that you work with. Those are the people who you come in contact with every day, and so they might be the best messengers for that information. So helping your community recycle better, having that passion, that's something that we want. And we also, want people to register if they're interested to learn about how waste is managed in Maine, kind of, taking away that illusion of things disappearing at the curb and really putting things into perspective about, when things disappear outside of your driveway, where do they go? What happens to them? And go beyond the basics of, what goes in the bin and what doesn't, but really understanding, the why and what happens to it and all that stuff that comes with it. I've had a lot of folks ask me, is this program restrictive to just ecomaine communities? And the answer is no. We do, the curriculum is really focused a lot on how the recycling systems affect ecomaine, and ecomaine's perspective on the situation, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's exclusively for and tailored to ecomaine communities. If you are not recycling with us, if you live outside of one of these towns, that doesn't mean that you're ineligible. It just means that the information that we give you might not be entirely the message that you need to carry on and communicate with your neighbors. So if you live in another town that has a different vendor for recycling, it just means that we'll just put in a little bit of a disclaimer. You got to check their program first and make sure that what you're putting in the bin is what they will accept and not what ecomaine will accept. We need to make sure that those two things are consistent, because we can't preach to somebody else's list of acceptable materials. We can only really teach to what we accept. And so we want to make sure that folks know that, and do their own homework about what's locally recyclable in their communities and what policies are available in their communities. We've actually had a lot of interest from non-ecomaine communities, and that's great, because maybe someday they will be ecomaine communities, and then that will affect them even more so. But we've also had inquiries from out of state just to see how ecomaine is dealing with the challenges of recycling, and get a perspective from outside of their neighborhood, which is kind of cool. So we're not exclusive to just ecomaine communities. All members are welcome. If you're from anywhere around the country, it's pretty much relevant information. But just a disclaimer that some of this stuff is going to be very specific to ecomaine's operations, like a virtual tour of our facility, for example, and then just keeping that in mind as we go forward with the curriculum. Here is an outline of the content that we are going to discuss in the class. And I've also taken a little time to go through and actually count the number of assignments that are in each chapter, and roughly the time that it would take to complete those assignments. I do have kind of a little note at the bottom. These are approximations, and some folks are going to want to and then how that'll work, I'll explain a little bit too. But yeah, it goes anywhere from 30 to 90 minutes or so, and then the final will take a little bit longer, but there's only really one final assignment. Examples of assignments, just things to kind of get you thinking about what this course is going to look like realistically. We've got a lot of different types of things. And one of the things that I'm really glad we tried to implement is that the assignments themselves are very diverse. So if you have a really creative brain and want to make graphics, there's an assignment for that. If you are very data driven, there's an assignment for that too. So there are a couple things just spotlighted in this slide here. So one example on the left is one assignment in the very beginning of the course is to audit your waste. So to actually go through the things that you are throwing away. And if you're part of an organization, you can do it for your organization. If you're just a resident and looking to do this in your spare time, you can do this with your household trash. So the waste audit is basically just dumping out your trash and sifting through it to see if there's anything you threw away or your family threw away that could have been recycled or composted or reused, and getting people to really think about all the materials that they discard every day, and what could have been diverted from the waste stream. So that's just one example of a more hands-on activity. And then we also have other kinds of like getting to know your community activities. So we've got one up here in the top portion of the slide, looking at your community and finding out if your community has a mandatory recycling ordinance. Does your community have a Buy Nothing group on Facebook where you can share materials and resources with your neighbors for free? Does your community offer composting? And if so, where is it located? So helping you kind of get to know your neighborhoods and what's available to you as a resident of your community. So that's why when we ask folks to register, why we ask for the town, because we really want to figure out, what does Scarborough have access to? What sorts of resources do you have if you live in South Berwick, for example? And really getting you to understand and find those resources and figure out where you can find them, either on the town's website or somewhere else. And then, like I said, if you've got that really creative brain, creating tools to help your neighbors recycle right. So looking at contamination data for your town, we have some general ones. So if you're not from an ecomaine community and you don't have access to that data, we can give you some examples of what contamination looks like all over our communities. So you get kind of a sampling of different, recycling drop-offs and what the contamination is usually like. And you can use that to create some sort of graphic or informational flyer to share with your neighbors to help folks recycle correctly. So using the real data to inform some education and outreach in your neighborhoods. So these are just some examples. Obviously, there are lots more activities than this, but just a little sampling of all of the things that you could be doing in this program. All right, and then some of the frequently asked questions, and then I'll turn it over for Q&A. Some questions that we've gotten already that I'd like to address just kind of ahead of time. The first one that we get, and probably the most common one, is what's the time commitment? I did mention and kind of break it down in that chapter outline, but it does depend. Some folks might take longer than others, and that's okay. Just like normal school, like I know I could work on an assignment for 3 hours, and then I have a classmate that does it in 45 minutes. And, it's just different people learn at different paces. And that's really one of the beautiful things about a self-paced 6-month program is that whether it takes you 60 minutes or 45 minutes doesn't really matter. We just want to make sure that the learning is happening and you're understanding what we're going over. And if you have questions, that's a great time to ask for questions. And your course moderator will be there to help you out. I'm going to be facilitating a lot of these classes. And so one of the big things is we've dedicated a lot of time to kind of be available to answer questions that you have. So on average, some activities are about 30 minutes. Some are somewhere in the 60 to 90 range. And then the final is a little bit longer. It's a bigger project. Assignments will not be graded. That's the second question here. Are assignments going to be graded? This is really just for your own learning to expand your own thinking about recycling systems. And so with that, we're not going to grade you on things. We will look over assignments as you submit them, and we can provide feedback and let you know if you're on the right track. Maybe provide you with some other resources. So if you're interested in reading a little bit about, maybe you're somebody who's really interested in ocean pollution and are really worried about microplastics. We can provide you with some enrichment materials, some extra reading, maybe a documentary to watch. So stuff like that might help you learn more about things you're interested in when it comes to waste and the more global perspectives. Or maybe it's something different. That's where, kind of working with the course moderator can help. So they're not going to be graded, but you will get some feedback along the way just to make sure you're keeping up. And, if you have questions, that's a good time to ask them. And then going into the next question, what do I do if I need support or if I have questions? There will be an ecomaine educator kind of at the ready to answer those questions. So your course moderator will be your contact person during the whole 6-month program. They're going to help you along the way. And if you, you can also reach out to the educator line. We have our own email address. So if you reach out to us at info@ecomaine.org, there's a team of us that can handle those emails. So if you have any kind of just recycling general questions or item specific questions, like where do I recycle this, or how do I dispose of this, or I'm trying to research about my municipal recycling program and I really can't find the information that I need. So where should I look on the website? We can help you with that. So you can either reach out to your course moderator or you can just reach out to info@ecomaine.org and you can get the information that you need. More frequently asked questions. I've had a few people already ask me if there are going to be regular meetings throughout the course. And because the, kind of flexible schedules that people have and the fact that it's self-paced, we felt that we'd like to start with having one meeting at the very beginning just to make introductions with everyone. So the folks who are in the same cohort as you can get to know each other. And, we can get a little bit of information about you and I can share information about the program. So we like to meet with cohorts at the very beginning of the class just to see them face to face on Zoom and say hello, because of course we can't be meeting in person right now. Hopefully in the future we can start having in-person meetings here at our facilities. But in order to accommodate diverse schedules that people have, some people work nights, some people work days, some people are retired and have a little bit more time during the day. So in order to accommodate that, we figured it's better to just check in by email once a month. And if folks need some one-on-one support or have extra questions, we can set up a Zoom call, we can get on the phone, or we can just have a back and forth on email, whichever people are more comfortable with. But in the meantime, to just accommodate for people's busy, hectic schedules, we're not going to do a regular scheduled meeting every month with the cohorts. We'll just, initial meeting, and then we'll do a lot of follow-up throughout the course. And then the next one is what happens after I complete the program. So in addition to becoming an expert and suddenly being a certified ecomaniac, and then having all of that pride that comes with that, take pride in the fact that you've completed a 6-month course dedicated to learning about recycling and solid waste management. We'll also provide you with a certificate to let you know that you are in fact a certified ecomaniac. You've completed the Master Recycler course. You can certainly use that as a point of pride and display it on your office wall if you'd like. In addition to that, we'll also provide you with some ecomaine swag. We've got t-shirts that we'll be making for our certified ecomaniacs that kind of brand you as a master recycler. And then we'll also throw in some extra goodies in there too, as a way to congratulate you on a job well done. So after 6 months, we'll either send it by mail or we'll try to figure that out as we get a little bit closer. Some of that's still a little TBD. And that's all I have for frequently asked questions. I've got my contact information right here. Of course, all of you are in this Zoom link, which means that you found it, which means you've got my email. But just in case, and if you're not following us on social media, please do. That's where we provide all sorts of information and resources and recycling tips and all that good stuff is on our social media channels. So please follow us there. And then you've also got my
I think Vanessa, you may be locked up a little bit there, but I'll introduce myself real quick. I'm Matt Grondin. I'm the communications manager at ecomaine. I work with Vanessa and our other educators. So I think at this point, I think Vanessa ended on a pretty good note. And we'd love to take any questions and answers. Well, we'll give the answers, I guess. So any questions you might have about the program, and I want to keep in mind too that we won't be able to answer, all sorts of every question about, is this item recyclable or is it not, or what do I do about plastic bags and things like that. We're happy to answer those. As we record this, as Vanessa said, we'll get that out to you with questions we didn't get the answers to. But we're hoping to take some time and answer some questions about the program and what you might be able to expect from it. And if you want to set up a time to talk with us on the side about what to do with styrofoam or plastic bags or high top sneakers, then hit us up and at that info@ecomaine.org address. So I guess I'll open it up to the chat. I did see a couple come in there. Do you cover challenges to recycling in northern Maine communities? Which is a very good question. So as Vanessa pointed out, this program is somewhat tailored to ecomaine communities, but I think a lot of it is generally applicable. When it comes to ecomaine and recycling solutions or waste solutions for communities in Aroostook County or Piscataquis County, there are ways we've been able to tackle those things in communities, for example, near MDI, Mount Desert Island. There are ways we can do it, but it has to be economically feasible for those communities as well as us, of course. But when you're talking about the communities in northern Aroostook County, trucking waste and recycling down to Portland, Maine, it gets challenging pretty quickly from an economic perspective. So we want to have those conversations. We have a business development manager who does have those conversations often. But inevitably, we know that it's not going to be something that can always be possible. So we want to set expectations in that regard, and hopefully we can work with whoever wants to work with us. A question about, do we cover waste diversion on a municipal scale? We do cover waste diversion on a municipal scale. We have 70 municipal member communities. We educate to each of them every day, and cover the reduce, reuse, and recycle and compost before we're talking about waste to energy and landfills. We do try and tackle those in this curriculum and through our education all the time. Let's see. There is not a cost to participate. Great question. We are hoping to make this a free course. I think that we've had a ton of interest. We've had enough people sign up for the original course and the wait list to fill the thing twice over, which is really fantastic news as far as we're concerned. But we want to keep it to be a free course, really. Excuse me. And you know, we think that that's the best way to get our information out there and to get people to use it. When will the program start? So we are starting in April. We are starting with cohorts, groups of folks in each month. So in April, the first cohort will start chapter 1, and then they'll work along, you know, and then if somebody really is you know, raring to go and they get done chapter 1 in a week, that's great. We'll pass along chapter 2, but our plan really is to kind of keep the cohorts moving along on a monthly pace, so that, you know, April will be chapter 1, May will be chapter 2, so on and so forth. And then cohort 2 will start in May. They'll get chapter 1 in May, chapter 2 in June, chapter 3 in July. And so we'll have a cohort starting in each month from April through the end of 2021. So one group will be starting with chapter 1 each month from April through December, and going, I guess, until June of 2022. Have you done this master recycler program previously? Are we the first class? This will be, April will be the first class. We have not done this yet. We have tested it out with a few people, but we're going to be learning a bit as we go too. So, you know, the feedback we get from our first class is pretty important, and we'll definitely take that to heart and tweak it as necessary. I see Vanessa's back. Sorry, Vanessa, I'm taking over here.
No, that's okay. Thank you for covering. That was crazy. My computer just like turned off completely and restarted. So that was good save.
I'm down to Liz Hayes' question on, is there any commitment to do service work after completion of the course? Vanessa, do you want to handle that?
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to do that. I also lost all of the chat questions. So if you want to just relay them to me, that's great. So in terms of commitment to volunteering or service after the fact, I think that's totally up to all of you. If that's something that you're interested in doing, we are happy to kind of make the connections to the people that you need to be in touch with. Usually that's like a public works department for the town, or you know, maybe the town has some sort of like communication side of things where you know, we can connect you to the right person. Maybe it's a sustainability coordinator, or public works director, or whoever it might be. So if that's something that you're interested in, of course, we love it when we have local champions that want to do some volunteering for recycling and solid waste. But it's not a mandatory, you know, or requirement of the training that we give you. We really just wanted to provide a resource for the public, to give people just kind of a view into our world. So, you know, if you want to do that, then that's great. We can put you in touch with anybody that you need to be in touch with, or if we have opportunities for volunteering. One of the things that we've always kind of felt like would be really great for education is, you know, we do a lot of tabling in the community, and, you know, sometimes we'll go to a transfer station, or maybe it's an event that happens in your town. And it's really nice when we have someone from the town who also knows their stuff about recycling and solid waste to be there with us and connect with people on a peer-to-peer level, because you know the community best. And we may not live there or, you know what's going on in that town, but you have insights and can bring a lot of value to that. So, you know, it's very helpful, but it's not required.
I'll tackle the next one. Doug asked if there are any other waste to energy facilities in Maine, in addition to ecomaine. The answer is yes. There is one in Lewiston called Maine Waste to Energy. It used to be called MWAC, but I like the name Maine Waste to Energy better for what that's worth. And there's one up near Bangor, outside of Bangor in Orrington, called the Penobscot Energy Recovery Corporation.
Company, I think.
Company. And so there are two. There was another one in Biddeford up until about 5 or 10 years ago now. But those are the three, and we you know, we all know each other, we all work together and all of that, but along with, you know, other single sort recycling facilities in the state as well. So next question, Vanessa, are there continuing education requirements? Are there quarterly check-ins as a group or routine communication, anything like that?
Yeah, so the plan, and like Matt mentioned, this is the first time that we're gonna be doing this course. So everything's really new and we welcome feedback as we go through. So if you feel like more check-ins are necessary, we want to hear that from folks. But the intention right now is to just start with one meeting with all of the members of the starting cohort. So, you know, for example, if you're part of the April cohort, going to be the first group to go through this course, we want to meet with them in like the first week of April. So during that first week, we're going to invite everyone to a Zoom meeting, get to know them, see them face to face, you know, answer questions that they have and give them that first chapter. So they'll get the first chapter then. There's going to be some people that whip through this stuff, you know, that have a little bit more, maybe their schedules aren't as busy, or maybe right now is just like a great time for them to really focus on this. Or maybe they're doing this as part of their job. We've had folks from transfer stations and public works departments sign up for this, and you know, maybe they're doing this on billable hours. And so for those folks, they might really bust through and kind of flash by this program. And for them, we want to make sure that as they're completing these assignments, they're getting the next chapters on time. So those monthly check-ins are going to be great because we can give everyone the content at that monthly check-in. But if maybe you're a little bit ahead, you can get that curriculum as you finish, you know, chapter by chapter. So it really is at your own pace. We do want.
I think I'll jump in again. So sorry about that, folks. But I think the core of what Vanessa was saying is, you know, we want to maintain as much communication or momentum as a group has, you know, acknowledging that everybody's going to be doing this at their own speed and so on. So, you know, we'll be figuring this out too a little bit on our way. We've done a lot of work and preparation on this, but inevitably there'll be a few things that we need to figure out too. So we'll see what works best. There's another question. If I am on this call, am I definitely signed up? And the answer to that is maybe. There may be some of you who have signed up on this call who are locked in at this point. If you've gotten an email from Vanessa about April, May, or June, then you are certainly locked into one of those cohorts. We are still kind of plowing through, you know, we got lots and lots of these emails over the course of about 10 days. So we're still getting through July through December. But if you've gotten notification from us, then certainly you're signed up for one of those April, May, or June cohorts. If not, then you know, we can certainly communicate with you about you know, what sort of area, or if you're on the waiting list, what area you fall in. So I think you can email Vanessa, you can email me, you can email info@ecomaine.org, and we can tell you specifically where you're at on the list. But by now, April, May, and June would have gotten confirmations. What level, if at all, do you pick up recyclable material from businesses? So ecomaine, we actually don't have a whole lot of trucking. The trucking we do goes from our waste to energy plant to our landfill. We truck the ash from our waste to energy plant to the landfill where we store our ash. We don't actually have a collection business. We don't haul material at all. We have relationships, obviously, with all the haulers in the area. We'd be happy to talk with you about, you know, what might work for your particular business. But we are really just the recipient of recyclable and waste materials, not so much the collection agency or hauler. can my family and I do this course together? Absolutely. I think that's a great use of the course, and I would absolutely encourage anybody to make it a family affair. I think there's a lot in there where you can make it a family walk and go out and see what's non-invasively see what's in recycling bins out there. You can take trips to see what's going on at Silver Bullets and things like that. Our drop-off sites, we call them. So there are lots of family-friendly activities, I think, that can be done. So absolutely. There's a question about what cohort we know. How do we know what cohort we're in? That's a very good question. So as I mentioned in the earlier question, if you have a confirmation email from Vanessa for April, May, or June, you are all set. And alternatively, we can work with you on an individual basis to let you know which cohort we've got you in at this point, or waiting list for that matter. Question here about what if you have to miss a month? Can you start up where you left off? Absolutely. Yeah, we understand that there's going to be real life happens. There's no question about that. And so we want to make sure that stay in touch with us. Let us know if you have to really buckle down at work for a month, or if you have to, if there's something going on where you're going to be missing July, for example. Then that's fine. We're not gonna gear this toward having to finish the chapter every month. If there's the chance, there are 5 chapters in 6 months, so hopefully there's a little bit of a buffer on the end. Some people may finish it in 6 weeks. Some people may take all 6 months, and that's okay too. If there's really a situation where you're a month behind and a month behind and a month behind, we'll absolutely work with you on that. There's no problem there. We don't want to get into too many of those situations because then we're herding cats, but we'll make it work. How many people are in a cohort? There are approximately a dozen in each cohort, just to try and keep it manageable. We've got a staff member, Vanessa, really kind of running this whole show, and so we're trying to keep about a dozen folks in a cohort for each month. So that'll be kind of compounding as we go on. It'll be 12 people in April. It'll be 24 in March, and 36 by the time we get to May. So that she'll be having to manage and oversee. So, how much time per month is needed? That's a good question. I think it'll depend. There are some chapters that are a little bit more intensive than others. As we get toward the end of the thing, I think probably looking at in the beginning maybe 2 or 3 hours a month. Toward the end, you might be looking at more like 4 or 5, maybe even 6 hours a month, depending on the activity. But that's our best guess at this point, that it'll take anywhere from 2 to 5 hours per month. There's a question just came in. Is there a fee to drop clean bulk recyclable materials at your facility? And can anyone do this? And for curiosity's sake, where does the majority of the process scrap go? Yes, so there is a fee. We do take recyclable materials. We are not particularly well set up for residents to come by. We do commercial and municipal pickup, that sort of a thing. However, we do work with businesses to take their cardboard or single sort material. That's kind of the reason we have our drop-off sites. For example, in Portland, there's one at Riverside Recycling. There are 2 ecomaine containers where folks can go and just drop off all their single sort recycling, and there's no fee for that. So that's kind of what we encourage residents to do. And then as far as businesses go, they can get in touch with our, generally folks set up an account with us and drop off on that account. So they'll work with our finance team to get a line of credit or to set up an account with us. Second part of the question, the majority of our processed material, when we sort it and separate it, does stay domestically in North America. A lot of our paper of late is going to India right now, but that's the only thing that's leaving the North American continent. India is seeming to be very hungry for paper, mixed paper right now. So, but that is pretty much all that is not sent domestically. To reconfirm, someone from the Boothbay Peninsula outside of your service area can take this course, ? That is true. Someone from Boothbay or the Boothbay Peninsula can take this course. It may be that not every piece of information is 100% applicable to the recycling program in Boothbay or in Bristol or Damariscotta or any of the places up in beautiful mid-coast. By and large, a lot of the same single sort tenets apply. And so what we're covering in this course would largely be applicable. There may be programs that do not take, for example, mixed plastic, number 3 through 7 plastic. That's a common thing. And so, you might run into things like that. But by and large, the activities and applications are going to be roughly the same, and a lot of the policy discussions we'll get into in one of the chapters later on cover a lot of state policy, which would then affect everybody in the states. I think there will be some nuances that are different, but by and large, it'll be the same.
I got a generic question again. How do you feel the bottle bill either helps or does not help either your business or the recycling process in general?
Sure. Yeah, bottle bill states, Maine included, do see a lot more recovery of that material. So, in terms of keeping it out of the landfill and making sure that it's recovered, bottle bill laws seem to work. I think that's pretty well confirmed. In terms of our business, we end up with a surprising amount of redeemable bottles and cans just the same. We have an aluminum bale is probably a majority cans that could have been redeemed. So, would we get more? Would we get less without a bottle bill? I'm not sure, to be honest. It's pretty hypothetical, but we do end up with a lot of them at this point anyhow. So I wouldn't say that it hurts our business because, as a municipally owned nonprofit, we have a mission to want to see everything get diverted from the landfill anyhow. That's really the bottom line for us. There's another question from Josh. How might the work that ecomaine does change if the EPR bill passes? EPR is Extended Producer Responsibility, which is a bill that's going to be considered by the legislature in Augusta, likely this session. And so this we'll talk a lot about this in the course. Just to give a quick overview, it would basically put a lot of the onus back on manufacturers to provide to either manufacture materials that are readily recyclable, and the definition of that needs to be worked out a little bit too. So, or they would have to pay to see that material disposed of at the end of its life. And so we're in favor. Just to give a very quick overview, we're in favor of EPR. I think that particularly if EPR bills and legislation rely on the great single sort recycling programs that are already out there to capture that readily recyclable material, that's really what we want to see out of that. Because if manufacturers are incentivized to make packaging out of something like a number 2 plastic or a paper that's incredibly recyclable and increasing in value, then that's great for us. We'll see a lot more revenue from that, and obviously keep more things out of landfill as well. So it's those hard to recycle things that we want to drive down and eliminate. And I think that's what EPR will do. Does anyone in the US have EPR now? The answer to that is no. There's a lot of activity around it. California, Vermont, New York, New Jersey. There are states along with Maine, obviously, working on it. But the closest we can get is our friends in Canada.
Hey, Matt, that question earlier from Doug about does anyone in the US have the EPR? In a way, kind of, we've been experimenting with some of that because we do have the bottle bill, we do have the paint buybacks and some of the electronic buyback schemes. So there's bits and pieces that are around, but nothing quite like what we're hoping for.
Yeah, that's a great point. There are lots of stewardship programs in place, as you pointed out, for paint and for other materials. Mercury thermostats is one as well. And so, yes, we have good experience on that front in Maine. I think that sets us up well for success if and when the EPR bill does pass, hopefully. You know, I think that packaging is, you know, that's the root of this EPR bill that's currently being considered. So it's the stuff that our stuff comes in, right? And so they're trying to hammer that out at this point, working with the DEP. We've testified in favor of it, as many others have, and I think you know, there's some acknowledgement from the packaging and manufacturing industry at this point that that this is something that might be on the horizon. So, you know, they're looking at it now as well and seeing what needs to take shape and so on. Did see another question come in. Oh, Vanessa reminded me. We are going to do in the future, you know, if there are groups that want to sign up, and, you know, for example, a transfer station staff as a group, or you know, maybe there's a business as a group that wants to sign up, we will be looking at that as well. So that's something that I think can really help drive this home too, is, you know, having we had a company get in touch with us just yesterday, I guess it was, and ask if they're, you know, they can make it available to their whole team. And so, you know, so of course we want to encourage that. And if you have that kind of a situation, then certainly reach out and we'll you know, we'll try and work with you on a group setting, I guess, as well. So Marilyn asked, what are the topics of the 5 chapters? Vanessa, I see you're back. You probably have them memorized at this point.
The 5 chapters are, if I'm remembering them, I don't have the titles like right off my head, but the first one is looking at, you know, which bin your stuff is in, and doing some kind of reflective practice. So looking in your trash, checking out your waste stream and making some goals for yourself on what kinds of waste you'd like to reduce in your life. The second chapter is really focused on which, you know, where your stuff ends up. So taking a virtual tour of our facilities. So looking at the waste to energy power plant, learning where your trash goes, looking at where your recycling is going and how it's being sorted and processed, looking at recycling plastics by numbers. So kind of doing some research on what end markets look like, that sort of thing. The third chapter is about battling wish cycling. So behaviors where people really want to recycle correctly, but might be doing it incorrectly. So looking at, you know, creating resources to combat wish cycling and deal with contamination. Chapter 4 is all about policies. So looking at state, municipal, and federal policies that affect waste management. And then chapter 5 is really talking about why it's important to have these in place in terms of, you know, the carbon footprint of recycling, you know, landfill diversion, all of that kind of more big picture stuff. So how recycling supports environmental programs and, you know, our climate future and all of that. And then there's a post assessment and a final activity at the end to just kind of measure what you've learned, and kind of create a final project, something of more substance that you can share and distribute in your community. So If you want a little bit more, I can send you a full outline. And as folks join the classes, the first thing we want to do is get you an orientation. So you'll see kind of exactly what we're dealing with. You'll get more information than you're getting in this info session. And if you have questions about, particulars, we can talk about that too. And Doug, you had sent me a message. I have you down for my, I think I have you in my August cohort.
Thank you for letting me know.
Yes.
Looking
Yes.
forward to it.
All right. Sounds good.
I was a little confused about the signing up. I thought this meant I was definitely signed up. So I
No, that's
appreciate
okay. No, I have you in for August. So
Okay.
you'll get
Super.
a confirmation. I'm hoping to send them out by the end of the week for all of the cohorts. We just wanted to wait until they were all full and finally assigned. So we could just send them all out at once. That happened a lot quicker and with a lot of gusto. We were very overwhelmed with the response that we got from Master Recycler. We're really appreciative of the papers that have picked it up and put it on their front page and all of that. But it did mean that we got a lot of inquiries very, very quickly. We actually basically sold out of our spots for 2021 in 4 days. So really amazing response from our communities, and we're so thankful. And we're hoping that this will become kind of a permanent thing that we can do on a rolling basis. And if you miss it 1 month, you get to join the next month. But it really did fill up very quickly, and we're booking out for 2022.
I think that answered Missy's question in the chat. We're hoping to get out that information by the end of this week, Missy. So if you didn't get one for April, May, or June, then just bear with us for a day or two longer, and we'll get those out.
Yep, it's on my list for the week, so I will make sure that those get sent out. And then if folks are on a wait list, you'll be notified that you're on a wait list as well. But although I think at that point, when we had folks signing up, as we filled up a cohort, we did take it off the website. So if you noticed that, September was at the top of the options that you had, that meant all of the other ones were full. And if you signed up for September, then you were very likely in September. So just keep that in mind as well. So we closed them as they filled up and reached capacity so that we didn't have, 20 people trying to join the August cohort when there wasn't enough space. And then waitlist was notified, that was on the website that they were added to the waitlist because the cohorts were full. So, all right. If there aren't any more, feel free to email me if you do have any lingering questions after the fact, or email info@ecomaine.org and we can get you all squared away. We will send out the recording. Apologies again for all the technical glitches. Hopefully that won't happen in the future. This is a very interesting turn of events. So thanks for being flexible, and please do feel free to reach out if you have other questions. But I look forward to seeing you all in the Master Recycler course. Have a great rest of your day.